Hey guys, I'm back with a new video today. In today's video, we're checking out a tier list mobile MMORPG free-to-play open world games for 2022 to 2023. I will be going through many mobile MMOs that I think are worthy to put on this tier list. If you guys don't know me, my name is Spid. I make mobile MMORPG content and I've reviewed probably 200 to 300 mobile MMOs, and I've been around for a while, so hopefully I can give you guys a unbiased opinion of a good MMO or mobile MMO you guys can check out and which games you guys should not be playing. Okay, so we're in the holiday season, so I had to bring out the Christmas sweater, so make sure you guys give me a thumbs up, make sure you guys subscribe, and let's jump into the tier list. So in this list, guys, I have removed the old MMOs that I used to include that no longer exist on Play Store and App Store, and I have removed games that are not really worthy, which are really generic and older MMORPGs, because I don't want the list to be super massive. So I tried to shorten the list down a little bit and only including the MMOs that are globally launched and that probably are viable for you guys to play. So we have the tier list right here. We have a W game, which is one of the best mobile MMOs you guys can play. We have S tier, which is a high tier, and then A tier, which is like a mid game. And then we have the generic and L game category. The generic and L category is probably the same. The L game will probably just be generic MMOs, but even worse, okay? So let's jump into today's video. And every single game that I'm putting on this list, there's a full review on this on my channel. So if you guys want to check it out, you guys can just check out the game on my channel. Okay, so let's start with the highest tier list W game, which is Albion Online. Albion Online, if you guys don't know, is cross-platform MMORPGs, more like a sandbox type of game where PvP is very important. Game is very well made, very polished. The devs have done a great job with it. You can do dungeons, you can fight monsters, bosses, but it's a very PvP oriented game where you have to enter PvP zones and fight for different monsters. There's also safe zones, of course, for those people that enjoy those. But Albion Online is a great game, so definitely check it out if you guys haven't already. Okay, now we have marked the highest tier, so we have to put a game in the lowest tier too. So a game I'm gonna put in the lowest tier is DekaronG. Absolutely horrendous game, typical generic mobile game. Not very good, not very great, so not much to say about it. It's just the typical Eastern game with the high big numbers, pay to win popping on your screen. Nothing really great about it. Okay, but let's keep going with it. A3 Still Alive. Now A3 Still Alive was a decent game when it first came out. People really enjoyed it and had a great time with it, but it's very old. It lost a lot of player base and is definitely not that great anymore. So it's a generic Korean MMORPG, unfortunately. Okay, when it first came out, there wasn't a lot of generic MMOs out there, but now there is. So now this is where it's gonna be placed. Okay, next up is Adventure Quest 3D. It's an absolutely fantastic game. Adventure Quest 3D is a classic type MMORPG where grinding is important, where it's not about, there's no like limit to the dungeons and grind that you can do in this game. It's a very classic type MMO, no autoplay at all. Very free-to-play friendly game, but it's a very old classic. I don't know how active the servers are. I know the main server is pretty decent active because it got a very dedicated player base, but Adventure Quest 3D, definitely check this game out. Next up we have is Armis. Okay, another generic mobile MMORPG. It looked decent. I'm not gonna put it on L game. It looked kind of decent, but not much to say about it. That it's just an average generic Korean MMORPG, so not worth really checking out. Next up we have is Black Desert Mobile. Black Desert Mobile is a great game, and the reason for that is Black Desert is pay to win, so that's why it's not a W game. But this game has a lot of features, a very good community, and very dedicated devs. It's absolutely fantastic PvP, polished PvP in this game, great PvE in this game. So overall, this game is fantastic. If you guys haven't checked it out, you're looking for a very full-fledged, worked out mobile MMORPG, check out Black Desert on mobile. Next up we have Bless, a generic MMO. There's a new Bless Global coming out soon. Hopefully that game will do better, but Bless was really bad when it came out. I expected more of it. They don't have like they don't have 3D. It's a 2.5D type of game. No movement while attacking. A very generic Korean MMORPG. Not too much more to say about it. Let's jump into the next one. Blade&Soul Revolution. Blade&Soul Revolution I put it on an A tier because this game had some raids and dungeons. Okay, and it's like a generic Korean MMORPG, but it was little better. Okay, it feels like the devs put a little more work into it, and there was good fun dungeons to do, some fun PvP to do, but it does give me a lot of generic vibes, so we're just gonna put it on A tier. Next up is CelticHeroes. CelticHeroes is, I'll put it high A tier because CelticHeroes is another classic old game, but I think the population, the reason I'm not putting it on S tier is I think the population is very low. Again, it's a very old classic MMO. I think it came out in like 2015 or something, but very fun. Again, another classic MMO, no auto. So if you guys are looking for like that classic grind MMORPG, the old school, CelticHeroes is definitely a game to check out. Next up we have Chimeraland. Chimeraland is another A tier game. I'll put it, it's very hard to place Chimeraland because Chimeraland is like a Rust style MMORPG where you travel across worlds, a very open world. You design, craft your own bases, make your houses, find different monsters. Like there's endless amount of monsters. The character customization, you can be like a wolf human or wolf bird, whatever you guys want. So there's a lot of content, but I heard that it's locked behind a lot of paywalls, and you can't do endless grind in this game, and there's some lacking parts. It could easily be a S tier game because it has so much content, and it's a game that came from PC to mobile, but is definitely lacking in some aspects. Next up we have is Diablo. Diablo, unfortunately, is getting an A tier for me. When it first came out, it was S tier like my last video, but it's an A tier game because here's the problem with Diablo, right? Very well polished game, but it's very lackluster when it comes to content. When I heard NetEase and Blizzard was going to work on this game, I was expecting massive raids, massive guild wars fights, fun content, exciting content, but it was very lackluster. When you play, it's very super pay to win, like incredibly pay to win if you want to actually compete in this game. The PvP is very lackluster and the PvE is very lackluster. So it's very polished though. The combat skills are fun. The skills feel very polished. The combat feels polished, but the game feels polished, but it's just lacking too much content for me to put it any higher than A. Next up is DkGenesis, another L game, generic MMORPG. It's a new game that came out recently, but not very good. DragonRaja, another generic MMORPG, not much else to say about it. Has nothing unique and nothing good to offer, so we're gonna put it in the generic section. Next up we have is DragonRaja. DragonRaja is a high S tier game. DragonRaja is very pay to win, but the game when it first came out was ahead of its time. Like the character customization, the classes, the raids, the dungeons, the vanities, it had everything, okay, except big raids, but it had everything except big raids. So DragonRaja, still a great game today. You can see there's a lot of newer games that are kind of copied GenshinImpact and DragonRaja, like for example TowerofFantasy, like Noah's Heart, and a lot of like LegendofNeverland, and a lot of games like that have copied DragonRaja because DragonRaja is a great game. So DragonRaja S tier. Next up we have EOS Red, another L game, not very good, very generic with auto combat, and it has like almost like no, like it feels like you're playing a very old game with like newer features. Like you have auto combat, you have all this new stuff that they have in MMOs, but everything else, like the game just feels like it's made in 1999, you know. All right, next up we have ForsakenWorld, another generic. Was great when it first came out. If you guys don't know, ForsakenWorld had a game launch like in 2017 or 18, which was a good game, and then they decided to launch another one called Forsaken Gods and Demons, which is another, like, it was fun at the start, the combat looked a little fun, but it just turned into a very generic MMORPG, and I think the player base dropped a lot too, so we're gonna place it right here. I see that I have Genshin Impact here. I have included some RPGs in this list. I forgot to tell you guys. I included some RPGs because there's been some really fun RPGs overall. But so we're gonna play Genshin Impact in W game. It's not MMORPG. It's an RPG game where you can play with other players in instances. But the game is great. I don't have to say much about Genshin Impact because overall it's just a great game. It's a gacha game with a lot of good storyline, great combat. So we're gonna put that over there. And the reason I decided to include some because there's a lot of new RPGs that have a lot of MMO features, so I wanted to kind of include that in today's video. Eternal Kingdom Peak, an L game, not very good. That I remember when I made a video on this, is the only thing that excited me in Eternal Kingdom Peak was that you could zoom out. That was it. Everything else was just typical generic, nothing unique, nothing cool about it. So yeah, it's getting placed there. Next up is, I think this is Guardians of Claudia. Guardians of Claudia is an A tier game. It's like in between, right? The A tier is like generic, a little generic, and or old school, or it's very or lackluster, but it has a little bit more than the other MMOs don't have. It feels like it's a little more engaging when it comes to combat, when it comes to the world. It looks better, but it's not anything wow. I wouldn't be like, hey guys, definitely check out Guardians of Claudia. It's more like, if you guys want to check out an MMORPG, give it a shot. Okay, HonorofHeirs was this game was a disappointment. It was the new crypto big MMORPG, but it was overall just a flop. So HonorofHeirs, not a good game at all. Didn't like it. Combat was dull. The world was dull, and it was very focused on the crypto. Crypto is getting old now, guys. Crypto MMOs, not that good. Okay, sorry, but not that good. Next is Kingdom, the Blood Pledge, another MMO that is an L game that was, again, feels like it's made in 2000s. Absolutely horrendous. Don't check this game out at all. It has some cool, I think it had like a cool aspect where like it was every time it was a blood moon. I don't know if it was EOS Red or it was Kingdom the Blood Pledge, but it was a blood moon. Everything turned into PvP, which was a good idea and aspect, but everything else was absolutely bad about the game, so they couldn't pull it off, you know. Next up is LegendofNeverland. There's been a lot of ads on this game, but again, it's an A tier game. It's not like a generic MMORPG, but it's not high tier either. Okay, it is lacking something, but it also brings a little bit extra. I would say Guardians of Claudia and LegendofNeverland is pretty like close to each other. Okay, so that's where I myself would put it. Next up, we have a Lifeafter. I have to give Lifeafter. I have to give it a high A tier because Lifeafter is a zombie MMORPG. We're in a zombie world where you can make amazing houses, craft a lot of stuff, where you use like actual like weapons, guns and stuff instead of gear, and you have like an open world. It's a very fun and engaging game, but it's very pay to win, like extremely pay to win. And I think it has a very dedicated community, but it has a lot of content that you guys can do. So because of how heavily pay to win it is, I can't play it in S tier, but it's a very high tier game. I would usually maybe place it in S tier if it wasn't that pay to win, but we're gonna place it on A tier, okay, to have a nice balance. Lineage 2 Revolution, I don't know why I have this game even. Like, this game is so old and so nobody plays this game anymore. Okay, so it's a generic MMORPG. It was cool when it first came out because it was early out with the typical generic MMO, so people weren't used to it. But now these days, this game is so old, probably very low population, not good at all. Next up is Marvel Future Revolution. Marvel Future Revolution, S tier game. I don't know what anybody says about it. It has maybe some lackluster content, but it's very unique. Okay, if you like superheroes, if you like Iron Man, Wolverine, all that stuff, it's a perfect MMO for you because it's a well-made, even though it's made by Netmarble, it's a well-made game, well-polished game. The combat is fun, the bosses are fun, the PvP is fun. So Marvel Future Revolution, I would definitely place it high. If it wasn't like Marvel based, I would probably not place it at high. I'll probably place it in A, but it because it is Marvel heroes and you can use these heroes in these fights and design it and customize them, I have to put it on S tier. Mirror 4, I have to give Mirror 4 a generic MMO. It was good when it first came out with the whole NFT crypto aspect of the game, but it doesn't bring anything unique to the game. It's a lot of bots in this game now. The PvP and everything is run by the biggest raids and guilds. The cryptocurrency has tanked, you know. So definitely generic. You don't check it out. Moonlight Sculpture, I have to give it L game. Not much to say about it. It's I think it's pretty new, so I have to add it on the list. But it's just okay, decent. Mu Origin had potential to be an H. I'll give it a low A tier. I want to put it in the generic section, but Mu Origin, it seems like it has a lot of population and people really enjoyed it. There was some engaging PvP, some engaging dungeons in this game. So I'll have to give it a low A tier, but it's very close to be a generic or A tier. Next up is NiNoKuni. NiNoKuni is actually, I think, okay, NiNoKuni, Legend of Neverland, GuardiansofClaudia, these games are so alike. They copied like the whole Genshin Impact style of the game. But they look so alike when it comes to world. It looks pretty, it looks amazing, but they are the same. I would put NiNoKuni in front of Legend of Neverland, and I would put Legend of Neverland in front of GuardiansofClaudia. I like this tier. Like, this is number 1, this is number 2, no, this is number 3, but they're all 3 in the A tier list. Okay. Next up is Order&Chaos. I'm actually making a new video on Order&Chaos soon. This game was absolutely fantastic when it first came out, because this was like this is literally WoW on mobile, but the developers, they abandoned this game and now it's removed from iOS, so it doesn't get updates anymore. So it's just a low A tier generic game. It's not a generic game. I have to put it in the L game because this game is dead, unfortunately, but it was absolutely fantastic. Odin Valhalla doesn't have a global launch, but I did play the beta and I have to just put it on A tier because it was an A tier game. It wasn't like, it looked fantastic. Okay, it looked like one of the best games you would see on mobile. Okay, it was incredible, but when you actually played it, you saw that they lied to us in the trailers. Okay, they lied to us in the gameplay trailers. So it's an A tier game. We'll see how it is in the global launch, but yeah. Perfect World was an A tier game, even S tier, but now it's a generic game. It had a lot of content, a lot of PvP, it was like, it came, I think it launched like when WorldofKings launched, about around that time, but it wasn't as good as WorldofKings, and now the population has died down. So Perfect World, I have to put, sorry, but I have to put it in generic. Next up is the RuneScape. We have to put both the RuneScapes in S tier because RuneScape is a great game. No matter what people say, they have been great since the launch. You know what you're getting when you're playing RuneScape. You're getting a lot of content, free to play. You can play with subscriptions, of course. You get the World Wilderness PvP, but you get the whole experience on your mobile device. But you know, it's like tap to move, which is not the best. You kind of want the joystick on mobile. But RuneScape, you know what you're getting into when you're playing the game, but the games are made fantastic. Okay. Next up is Seven Knights 2. I would want to give Seven Knights 2 an S tier. It's like a gacha MMORPG, but instead of having like the GenshinImpact art style, it has more of like a classic MMO vibe, and you can get like 50 gacha heroes and stuff. And it's very ranked high on the App Store for some reason, but we have to give it an A. It's not better than an A. Probably like a high A, like next to Diablo or Blade&Soul right there is good, but I'm not giving it higher than this. Next up, Stella Arcana, L game. Not much to say about that game. This is Sword Dynasty. Oh my god, this game was absolutely horrendous. I checked this game. It's a very new global MMORPG, and this game, it is like the typical, I have to put it like the lowest of low. Okay, this is like the bottom of the list. Toram Online is a classic MMO. It's a great game. I don't know, like, I want to put it in S tier, but I know the population has been lacking, so I think the best spot for this would be next to CelticHeroes. I think this is the perfect spot. These two games are old classical MMO types, and they are fit perfect next to each other. Okay. Next up, okay, we're talking about an RPG game, Torchlight Infinite. I made a new video on this, but this game is an S tier game. It's like Path of Exile. It's an RPG game. It's not an MMORPG. It's an RPG game where seasons and stuff reset every 2-3 months, so everybody starts fresh. They introduce new content. The gameplay looks amazing. The art looks amazing. I really like this game. Okay, so I had to put it on this list. Next up is Tower of Fantasy. Tower of Fantasy is a W game. Okay, it's higher than S tier. Tower of Fantasy, I played it for a while. The one place it was lacking was probably PvP content, but other than that, this game is fantastic. It's gacha. It is free to play friendly. It has an amazing big world to explore. A lot of dungeons. They add raids. They keep constantly giving it new updates, which is so important in MMOs. Tower of Fantasy, fantastic game. Great game. Check it out if you like the anime. It's like GenshinImpact, but an MMORPG. Okay, so Tower Fantasy is definitely going up here. Next up is TrahaGlobal, my main game right now. TrahaGlobal is a SW game. It has potential to stay here, but lately, the lack of updates and the lack of communication, this game can easily drop down to S tier or even down to A tier if they're not doing something about it. But if we keep getting new updates, keep getting new content, this game can stay in W game. It is an amazing game. It's introducing raids, you have dungeons, a very PvP focused game. Big faction wars, 200v200. The PvP is fun. They need to work on some balancing, of course. The classes are fun to play. But it does need content. So depending, maybe on the next tier list video, this game might even drop down to S or A tier. But for now, it's a W game and hopefully it stays this way, okay? Next up is Undecember. Undecember is, that's hard to say. It's an RPG game again with like MMO features. I have to give it a high A tier. It's better than DiabloImmortal. It is like DiabloImmortal type of game, but it feels like they added more content to it, and a lot of people that went from Diablo style game to Undecember are very happy with their choice and say that Undecember is a good game to check out. So Undecember, a good game. V4, I have to put it on generic. Nothing good about it. WorldofKings is a great S tier game. It has raids. That's the biggest thing with WorldofKings. It is very pay to win. It's very hard to catch up, but it has amazing guild wars, guild versus guild sieges, and it has amazing raids. Okay, like proper MMO raids where you need 20 people fighting, doing a lot of mechanics throughout the fight, and that is what makes WorldofKings fantastic. If it didn't have that, I would put it very low, but because it had those raids, this game is very good. Tales of Wind, I think, A tier game. I have to put it another. No, this is not. This is World Apprentice. Sorry, World Apprentice is a great game. I have to put it next to CelticHeroes and Tora. Very like those games. Classic type MMORPG again. Very fun, very engaging. Next up is Villages and Heroes. Villages and Heroes gets S tier for me. It's like Adventure Quest, another classic type MMO. But from all the classic type MMOs, Villages and Heroes and Adventure Quest 3D are the better ones. Okay, so if you're looking for a classic MMORPG with devs that are involved, definitely check out one of these games. Okay, they're grindy, they're fun, engaging. Era of Legends, I have to give it an A tier, another raid MMORPG. That's why it gets so high, but I think the population is pretty dead. The PP was very fun when it came out, but this is it, guys, for my tier list. Here's my list. Okay, I am very happy with my choices in W game. These games are very good. Definitely check them out. Albion, Tower. If you like PP, you like, good, fun, engaging, well polished game, Albion is the way. You like Genshin type style, but with MMO, Tower of Fantasy. You like classic type, classic art style, good, fun combat, a lot of good PP. Check out Traha. And if you like Genshin waifus and husbandos, check out Genshin. And if you like a fun RPG with like League of Legends style art style, check out Torchlight Infinite. But this is my list, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. If this was helpful at all and you guys agree with me, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this game, and what games do you guys want to see next on the tier list. I'll try to make these tier lists monthly so you guys can keep up to date. But I'm happy for the new year. I'm excited, and hopefully we get some great new MMORPGs coming next year. But thank you guys so much for watching, and check out this video right here.